Hi, welcome to Ben and Barry on football. Well, so much for that. Welcome to Ben and Barry on football.
Everybody awake?
Is everybody awake? I know I am. My name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings. And if you ask my wife, I break things a lot. So that's not unusual. My compadre in crime here is...
I'm Ben Dickerson. Always a pleasure.
Yeah. Now, what can I tell you? This is the Super Bowl wrap-up show. Yeah, we've had
the season's over. Dude, you were crying a couple of weeks ago saying, oh my God, we're getting close to the end of the season. Remember that? It's here, man. It's over.
I'm not real happy about it. I'm fighting depression, but I'll be okay. I'll be okay. We'll talk again about my Pro Bowl.
No.
Would it be nice to have something like that coming up? We'll talk about that a little bit later. Yeah, we'll include in that. So let's get ready to share some information on here. As I said, this is the Super Bowl 53 review show. And we're just going to talk a little bit about what's going on or what has happened. And so, Ben, last week, let's start it off. Last week, when we talked about the show as it was coming up, the Rams actually were favored in the Bias Plus.
That's correct.
My Bias Plus comes from the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings, where we look at the net points of both teams and the turnover differential of both teams, and then compare the two, and the difference goes to that team that has the greater of the two, and that we call that the bias. And when you add that turnover differential in, it's the Bias Plus.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure everybody understands and ask this question in case anyone is wondering. When we came up with the Bias Plus for the actual Super Bowl, we used all the numbers, all the data from the entire regular season up to that point. Correct?
Yes. From the entire regular season and including the postseason.
And including all postseason games that these two teams participated in.
That they participated in, absolutely. And so what happened was the Rams actually had a greater net points, had more net points than the Patriots.
Right.
Matter of fact, the Rams were pretty much in second or third place all season long.
Pretty much. They were in top five at least.
In the top five at least. But I went back and actually looked. I don't think they really fell out of the top three, maybe but once.
Wow.
All season. Trailing the Kansas City Chiefs.
Right.
We questioned a few things about them, especially defensively, because they ended the regular season ranked 20th in points given up, points against, which was pretty low for a team going into a Super Bowl.
Right.
We talked about some of their what's been going on with them on the line, and teams being able to run against them, things of that nature. But they had been playing a little bit better, and we figured, okay, they're about ready to show up. Turnover differential was even at plus 10, I believe it was. And I did share a graph back then, which you can find on my page, the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings on Facebook. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But I had questions about the quality of their scoring. Because if you remember, I showed you the graph, and it had where they really outscored the Cardinals and the Niners twice during the season.
Quality of their scoring in respect to teams in their divisions.
Well, in respect to teams that they played, just happened that they were in the divisions. And when we looked at
which means they played them twice.
Right, that's why they played them twice.
Right.
And then when we looked at the other teams that they had played, which were better competition, whereas
you could see a difference.
You could see a big difference in terms of that. And so we questioned that. But as I looked at it, and you had your points, you'll and join in this once I go through these. These were the keys that we talked about last week for the Patriots to overcome that bias. And again, 24, a bias plus of 24 is very small. okay, we've had bias plus scores of over 300.
Right.
And when you look back over a 16-game season and you add in a few other playoff games, 18-plus games or whatever, that's a small amount if you were to average that out over that time period. So we figured it was going to be a close game. That's what we looked at. But being that the Patriots were on the non-favored side of the bias, okay, the bias was against them, we looked at what, I felt they needed in order to win. One was to win the pocket release battle.
Right.
And we talked about Brady getting the ball out of his hands in about 2.5 seconds.
That was the statistic, yes.
As compared to Aaron Donald, who was getting past his blockers, including double teams, which occurred 60% of the times in about 2.5 seconds.
Right.
So we figured, okay, whoever wins this battle, is really going to have an advantage. So that the Patriots would have to win that battle. Then secondly, the line of scrimmage audible battle. Because, again, my point was that you've got a young quarterback who's got a coach in his ear, and this is what's really funny, versus, let me just say this first, versus the experienced quarterback in Brady who can walk up to the line of scrimmage, diagnose it, reset everything, and go. And again, he's getting the ball out of his hands in 2.5 seconds.
Right.
And then if all else fails, Gronk him. Which I think I texted you when it happened.
You did. And the funny thing is, when I saw that and I read it, I was like, oh, Barry, that's so lazy. But it turned out to be so true. When in doubt, Gronk him. I'm like, come on, dude. And sure enough.
And what was really hilarious about the scrimmage audible battle is they started talking about how long the coaches are allowed to talk to them in the helmet.
Took note of that. 15 seconds.
15 seconds. And the Patriots played on that. Yes. So they didn't show you anything. What they showed you in the first 15 seconds is not what they came with. Right. And I'm like, oh, these guys are playing at a whole nother level. And let me mention.
Oh, wait, wasn't it the Rams that were actually doing that?
Well, the Rams.
They stayed in the huddle and let the clock run down before they lined up.
Maybe they did that in the second half, but I think.
Yeah, they did. It was in the second half for sure.
Yeah,
that I remember taking note of something that they were doing differently. Yeah.
So yeah, the game was being played on a lot of different levels.
Because what they wanted to do is they wanted to be able to have McVay talk to Goff without the Patriots knowing anything about how they're going to line up or any formation. And then once the 15 seconds hit, they knew Belichick then could not talk to his defense. Then they would line up and show what they were going to do. But again, you got seasoned vets calling plays on the defensive side too.
Yeah,
so you're not really getting that much of an advantage when you play a team like the
Patriots in that situation. Yes. And from what I understand, the Patriots won the fan battle.
Yes, they did.
They had more
big time won it.
Big time noise, almost like it was a away game for the Rams.
They said there was hardly any Rams fans there. They couldn't. They were hard to pick them out. They were so few and far in between.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's kind of sad, but you know what? They don't have big turnouts when they're home. LA is one of them cities, man. They always say it when it comes to sports. There's so many other things to do.
Yeah.
LA and Miami is where they talk about that the most.
Okay. And I can see that, even though I've never been to LA, or Miami, but it's a warm weather place year round. Lots of things happening. It's Hollywood. There's everything going on out in that area.
But you would think Super Bowl.
Man, you would think Super Bowl. So I got a few things that I made, a few points that I made here. But before I get into that, let me let you sort of respond. Anything else you want to respond to and bring up any points about the game?
I mean,
first of all, did you enjoy the game?
Yes, I did. I enjoyed the game immensely, actually. At first, I was like, man, there's no scoring. It's got to be a scoring explosion somewhere along the line in this game when I look at these two teams that are playing and the kind of seasons that they've had. And I was waiting for it to happen. But I appreciate defense. And although I saw a bit of ineptitude for some strange reason on the Rams side, I saw a real good defensive play by the Rams against the Patriots. It's like they kept probing and not trying to show too much, not getting too tricky, but sticking to a plan. Like if we just keep tapping on this eggshell, it's going to crack type of thing. Vice versa, I think the Patriots defense had the Rams number. When McVay says he got outcoached, I think that's what he's talking about. Straight up, his offense versus Belichick and his defense, and he got outcoached. They seemed to know everything they were going to do. They were in the right place all the time. I can't remember. The only big plays that they potentially had, they didn't connect to them, which is basically the two big ones to Cooks.
Right.
Okay? Right. They had no other real big plays.
And let me tell you something. Cooks was open in that one.
Dude, that was a miracle. They showed the wide view. The guy, McCourty, was on the corner. His guy ran a shorter route, and he looked and was like, oh, and got there.
Man, look, let me
got there.
It was amazing. Mentioning McCourty, this was one of those games where the first game on record where a set of twins won a Super Bowl together.
Yes.
And considering that the other McCourty came from, I believe, the Browns.
Yeah, and before that, he played for some other losing team.
I think he was on the 0-16. Yeah. So he went from 0-16 to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's great.
Guess who else won the Super Bowl out of this deal? My former quarterback for the Niners, Hoyer.
Oh, yeah, Hoyer's
sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
Got a ring. Wow. Got a ring. I mean, it's funny because, again, we're in Philadelphia. And, the Philadelphia people, the Eagle fans, I'm a Niner fan, you're a Giants fan. They were just hating all day. I mean, it was, and every time I talk to them about, how was the game? Oh, it wasn't a good game.
It's
the
so
Eagles,
sad.
As far as I'm concerned, the Eagles should still be the champions. And I'm like,
who said what?
Yeah, Eagle fans.
They changed the rules or something?
On my Facebook page. It's amazing. They're in that space now where they've been hanging on to this championship for so long, for this year, and then it's over. And, it's hard
for real. It's over after the parade. But technically
they're the champs.
Technically, you're the champs until somebody else wins the Super Bowl. So I'll give you that.
Funny
guess what? That's over too.
Even my wife, who was an Eagle fan, and we had some family over, and when I talked about it, they were like, "Well, we're still the champions." I was like, "Till tomorrow," and they all broke out and "We Are the Champions." They're singing and
God!
You guys, man, you guys.
Die, Eagles, die.
Anyway, yeah. So, an interesting game. Now, from the start, at the coin flip, right?
We talked about coin flips.
Yeah, we talked about the coin flip, and they let the Patriots have the ball.
The Rams won the toss
and deferred.
And immediately, Tony Romo said, "This might not be what you want to do." He said it right away.
Well, it's funny because
you might not want to give Tom Brady the ball first. Because scoring first in the Super Bowl seems to be big.
When I have an opportunity, when I'm playing, man, I kick off. But we already seen Brady against the Chiefs eat up the first quarter in a drive and keep that offense on the sideline. Matter of fact, in the first half, in terms of third down percentage, I believe this is, the Pats were 2 for 7. They were 29%. The Rams were 0 for 6. It was 0%.
Here's the funny thing. Tony Romo also said, it seems like they're betting on their defense, which I believe in, except I'm not betting on that defense. That defense has not been great. That defense, in my estimation, and I said this to a bunch of people before the game, is going to pull a what the heck happened, just like the Chiefs did. They had that one game where we're like, oh, their defense been stinking all year, but they've been winning anyway. And all of a sudden, the defense played great for that one game. We're like, oh, it's finally clicking. Oh, they're really going to go now. And the next game, they went right in the tank. I predicted the Rams would do the same thing. However, it seemed like things worked out for them because didn't Brady throw an interception in that first drive?
Right off the bat, he threw an interception.
Okay.
And the weird part is I kept thinking that sometimes when things like that happen, Rams get the ball, they get juiced.
Yeah.
And you're already.
I think that's what they were banking on. I think they thought, you know what, we could do this. And if we do, it's going to be a huge advantage for us because it gave them field position.
But they didn't do anything with it.
And that's the one thing they didn't plan on.
That's when the air kind of starts to come out and you're like, oh.
Yeah, but then you go, well, it's first series. We're cool. Then they do it again and again and again.
I mean, when you look at the series, it was punt for the Rams, And again, the time of possession, for the Pats, first quarter, 11 minutes, 47 seconds. Rams, 3 minutes, 13 seconds.
What was the second quarter? Did you happen to write it down?
Second quarter, it was Pats, 8 minutes, 5 seconds. Rams, 6 minutes, 55 seconds.
Okay,
they got
so
better.
It's a smaller advantage, but it's
right.
Yeah, they get better at holding on to the ball.
Holding on to the ball. They just.
But guess what? Total in the game, 9 punts.
9 punts. Yeah.
9 punts.
Punt. And
they're lucky they got the field goal they got.
Yeah.
Right, they're lucky they got that close.
It was
because when you punt, that means you are out of field goal range. You're not even. We could take a chance on this real long one. No. And every time you punt, you slowly lose the field position battle back to the other team. And
they had a few good punts where they had
they pinned them inside the 20.
They had a few good punts, yeah.
Pinned them inside the 25 out of the 9.
Yeah.
The punters did their jobs.
Yeah.
The punters should both get raises. Okay? The punters did their job. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. I think the Patriots punter got them inside the 20 3 times.
Okay.
Out of his 5 punts.
Now, another factor in the game, penalties. Pats had 3 penalties for 70 yards. Rams had 9 penalties for 65 yards, and a few of them were very poorly timed penalties.
If we're not talking about penalties, we're talking about turnovers. Or I should say it the other way around, because both teams had 1 interception apiece.
Right.
Okay. I don't think there were any lost fumbles.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I don't think there were any lost fumbles. So turnovers was a wash. When we did the ranking, when we checked out the bias, turned out to be a wash in the game itself.
Yep.
Okay. But then penalties rear their ugly head.
Now, again, third down percentage and turnovers, the timeliness of them is really impactful. Because if you think about it, like you said, Patriots early in the first quarter.
Yeah.
You got plenty of time to overcome that mistake.
Right.
Rams late need to score, and you throw that turnover.
Yeah,
you throw that ball, and that kills your drive.
Yeah.
So one turnover didn't really hurt them. The other turnover was pure death.
And that was probably, if it wasn't their best drive, it was one of them. They were. I could be wrong. They were pushing the 30-yard line.
They were pushing, but
on the way in.
And what they were doing, and again, you see teams do this at the end of the game, but you see the Patriots do this at various times through the game, and that is going to a hurry up.
Yeah. Because
when you can't just beat that defense, you got to do things like that.
To throw them off.
Yeah, catch them out of position, things of that nature. But if you wait till the end of the game, then everybody's ready to scramble.
Yeah, they're ready for the hurry up then.
Yeah, they're looking for it, Sure. So it really doesn't. Now, let me throw this out. And because when we talked about timeliness, and especially in terms of third down, the Patriots have Mr. Third Down Man.
Mm-hmm.
You know who that is, right?
Okay,
Edelman.
I'm confused. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Mr. Third Down. Yeah. I don't think the Rams they don't have that guy. That guy used to be Cooper Kupp. not there.
Yeah, okay. I can't argue that. You're right. They definitely missed him.
Yeah, I think that they definitely missed him.
It's weird because during the season, it seemed they never replaced him, but I think Woods and Cooks kind of stepped their games up, and then Josh Reynolds kind of filled in here and there, but you can't replace Cooper Kupp. Yeah,
and
they missed him.
There's a lot of conversation now relative to Edelman. He was the MVP of the game.
Oh, don't say it.
There's a lot of conversation as to whether he should go into the Hall.
Why?
Well, that's the conversation. Some people say why. I think I kind of lean toward it, to be quite honest with you. Now, first of all, you know me. I think everybody that wins the Super Bowl should go into the Hall just because you won, right?
You can't do that.
Well, maybe you can, but I said this is what I think.
No, wait. I've never been to the Hall of Fame. I'm ashamed to say, and as a football fan, I feel like it's on my bucket list.
We will go.
We will go.
We will go.
But I'm fairly sure there's a wing in there someplace where they have listed every name of every player that played on every Super Bowl
so they're in
team, which means their name is inside the building, if that's what you mean. So in a sense, they are in. Okay.
But, the thing
is, you can't talk about Edelman until you talk about Ricky Waters. Bam, your team.
I understand that. But when I'm looking at Edelman, okay, at his body of work through Super Bowls, okay, he is the clutchest guy.
You say that. We used to say that about Wes Welker.
That's true. But now Edelman, I mean, think about it. What was it in Atlanta, right? Was it Atlanta? The catch he made. He had three guys coming down on him. Coming down with the ball. He had to flip it back up this like inches from the ground.
Right.
And make that catch. Yeah. If you don't make that catch, they probably don't win the game.
They probably don't win the game. Correct.
It's the clutch aspect. If there's anything that would get him in, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying he's got the gaudy numbers. He's not the 1,200-yard a year guy.
Yeah, but that's what they really look at.
But
they look at a lot of things, but numbers is big.
Right, and I understand that. But if you look at the timeliness, the third downs, when they need a third down to keep that drive going, he was unstoppable.
You're absolutely right.
He was, and like you said, they try to double him. Now they've taken somebody off of Gronk. They've taken somebody off of one of the other guys.
Or they leave Gronk with a bad matchup.
One time he was matched up on a linebacker. Because of it, they shifted over to double team, and that's when they went deep. And next thing you know, they're at the goal line, and now, boom, they're scoring.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When in doubt, Gronk them. But that's what
I don't know. We're gonna have one of these days. We're gonna have a Hall of Fame little talk.
Maybe next week, because the Hall of Fame was named. All of the Hall of Fame.
I know, and I love this class. It's a great class, man.
Talk about the class and
great
give
class.
them their props. For that.
Okay.
But yeah, that was a question. Now, for a more fun part, we talked a little bit about the commercials.
Yes.
And our favorite commercial. We both said our favorite commercial was the fumble.
Right.
Right.
With all the retired NFL players, Hall of Famers, and current players all in one big old room.
All in one big, starting off with again, the funniest guy coming out of the NFL, beast mode. And the funny, I have, and if you can't see it up there, but I have a Mike Tyson doll that my daughter gave me. And I always tell people, when Mike Tyson was in the ring, he was scaring the crap out of people.
Right.
But now that he's not a boxer, he's the funniest guy.
He's funny. He's hilarious.
He's hilarious now.
He is.
He is the funniest guy. And, and now Beast Mode is that guy.
Yeah. It's all jokes now.
It's all jokes now. So he creates the fumble. The ball's going. And, my favorite part, right? Joe Montana gets the ball.
Oh, and Michael Irvin's like, over here, Joe. And he's like, nah, cowboy. Nah.
No cowboy.
Jerry. That's beautiful.
Oh, that was.
And the other one is fucking, excuse me, Peyton Manning. He comes dude says, "You still got it." He go, "Oh, that hurt."
I know.
That's
Payne's another one that's really funny now.
Payne's a funny guy.
He is a funny guy. Yes, he is hilarious.
But I just love how they had each guy do something that fit his personality or something about him and football that we
even
remember
with the what's the name from the receivers? Who's the young guy from the receiver from the Steelers? And he was tiptoeing across the table.
Juju with the sweet feet. Yeah. And then it ends with Saquon hurdling somebody. It's perfect. That is the greatest commercial they come up with in a long time.
It was, and who was it? Just even kicking it off.
Larry Fitzgerald going up over everybody and tipping the ball.
Wait a minute. But who saw the ball hit the floor and with the craziest look on his face?
He took his glasses off. Ball! Mike Singletary. That started the whole thing.
That kicked it off, man. And you could believe Mike Singletary losing it like that. Absolutely. You know what I mean? Having that flashback. You know what I mean? I remember when we used to play football, we played football and then we would, like, on a weekend be at a picnic and people would be playing pickup games. Yeah. And I would never play because I'd be like,
I'd be like, nah.
I don't want to have no flashbacks. By accident, some young lady running across the field with the ball.
Yeah,
I just
clothesliner. Yo, that's my wife.
So, no, we don't even play that game. But yeah, that was an awesome. If you're a football fan, had to be the best commercial of the day.
Great commercial.
And we'll be looking at that. We'll be replaying that at some particular point. So, oh, no doubt about it. No doubt.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yes. So, as we went and we talked about that, let's move on and talk a little bit about what's going on with the coaches.
Okay.
All right. So here we go. We've got a good listing here. If anybody wants to take some notes real quick and just follow up on what's going on with these coaches, we'll start from top to bottom with Zach Taylor going to the Cincinnati Bengals.
Now that was kind of recent. Okay, some of these have taken place already, and we kind of briefly talked about.
Zach just came from the Rams,
right?
So he couldn't do anything.
Right, he had to wait until his team wasn't playing anymore.
Right,
but he left there. He was the quarterback coach. I saw a brief part of his interview. He made it very clear that he will be calling plays. I think they were trying to get out of him how much of the Rams offense he's going to bring over. Of course, everybody's like, I'm influenced by them, but I'm going to do my own thing, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, he said this is going to be the Bengals offense.
Right. Kind of like Doug Peterson leaving Andy Reid.
Yeah.
You're not going to say, oh, yeah, I'm running Andy's offense.
Exactly.
You'll put your own little wrinkles in.
Exactly.
The Kingsbury thing was interesting.
Kingsbury, Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, that was interesting because he had all but completely taken the Temple job here in Philadelphia. I was like, oh, they got Cliff Kingsbury? Okay.
So you like Cliff?
Well,
I mean, especially going to the Temple job, you thought that was a pick.
because of where he came from, the whole Texas Tech thing and the air raid offense and, but if you really look at his coaching career, it wasn't great. His playing career was great. He set a lot of records, but his coaching career wasn't great. But it was more, I think, of finding the right fit for him. Going to the Cardinals, I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean that's a tough division now. Garoppolo's coming back to the Niners. The Rams are the Rams. And if they could get better, the Seahawks. Led the league in turnover differential.
They ain't dead yet.
So they're going to have to play. They're going to have to pick it up. Adam Gase, New York Jets, Mr. Crazy Eyes.
Yeah, I was just telling Barry earlier, I didn't realize he had the crazy eyes until I saw his interview after he got hired. Because during the games, he seems so calm, and he's got his hat pulled down all the time. I never noticed that about him, but he's got these big poppy eyes, and he really makes them really wide when he's trying to make a point. And the crazy thing is, he looked more intense in the interview than he does on the doggone sidelines. On the sidelines, he's a corpse. It's no wonder Miami had no fire.
In the back of my mind, I kept thinking, if the Jets hierarchy is looking at him right now, they might want to rescind this offer. They might want to take it back.
If they went back and looked at that interview, they're like, did you notice that dude?
I don't know about this
guy. He got the crazy eye, yo. They're like, what?
I can have a series of murders and be like, yeah, well,
none of this happened till this guy came to town.
No, he looked wild.
Oh,
and a ton of beams. People had a ton of.
You
beams.
got to with a face like that.
You know, they started having birds flying around, like he was looking at stuff, and it was it's hilarious. Cleveland Browns got Freddie Kitchens.
Right. Where did he come from? I forgot.
Cleveland.
What was he?
I think he was a defensive coordinator. He was one of the assistant coaches.
He was already on there.
He was already
on
there. Yeah.
Okay.
And then they held on to him.
Okay. So it's funny they chose him over the guy that they had as the interim, which was Greg Robinson, and I remember his name clearly because he was part of the whole Bounty Gate thing with the Saints. Actually, I think he did a pretty good job. I commend him for the job that he did of especially being a defensive guy and kind of inspiring Baker to really take the reins and be a leader.
Was it Kitchens that was inspiring?
But okay,
as an offensive coordinator.
As offensive coordinator, I have to give Kitchens credit also because he's the one that's probably around Baker Mayfield the most, talking to him about game planning and things like that. Obviously, I went crazy there for a second. Greg Robinson wasn't calling any plays or anything. He's strictly defense. So it's all about Kitchens, but they had a good thing going there between the two of them, which I'm sure is what helped boost him to the head coaching job. So great. That's great. We
shall see.
Did the Browns go as Baker goes?
We shall see. Vic Fangio for the Denver Broncos.
Okay. Really good. Been around for a long time. Defensive coach. I think if I remember correctly, he had a head coaching job one time in the past that didn't work out for him, but I can't quite remember who the heck it was. I think he was defensive coordinator for the Bears, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But the bottom line is, in these days now of these offenses really going ballistic and scoring all these high numbers and breaking all these records, okay, and everybody talking about each team that's looking for a coach is looking for a hot, young, offensive coach in the Sean McVay light. Here comes this, not only is he not young, but he's a defensive coach at that. And for the Denver Broncos to go that road, I find interesting, especially from a team who the president of the team is John Elway, an ex-quarterback, and a team who has been struggling to find a starting quarterback for a really long time. I find that a little curious that they hired a defensive-minded head coach. I don't know if they're going to attempt to continue to work with Case Keenum or if they're ready to move on from him already. He did not have the type of year that I thought he would have.
A 40-year coaching veteran with 32 years of NFL experience, a defensive coordinator for 20 of the last 24 seasons.
Wow. That's Vic Fangio.
Yeah.
So that's a great resume. And if you're trying to find a great head coach, regardless of the position that your team is in right now, then you made the right choice. Okay? So they didn't go into this thinking, oh, we got to get this hot, young, NFL's a copycat league. They didn't go that way. They said, who's the guy that we think is going to be the best head coach for us? They picked Vic Fangio. I hope it works out for him.
Matt LaFleur, Green Bay Packers, a guy who's younger than the quarterback that he's the Hall of Fame quarterback. Spent time as a quarterback coach of the Redskins and the Falcons and as offensive coordinator for the Rams and the Titans.
Okay. So, but what was his last job? His last job wasn't with the Rams.
I think that was the Titans.
It was the last job was with the Titans, right? Whose offense was not very impressive this season. It wasn't very impressive last season either. I don't know when he arrived there. So I don't know. That's I hope they did their homework there. He must have interviewed well. And maybe his style will fit Aaron Rodgers better than it did Mariota.
In 2017, as offensive coordinator for the Rams led the NFL in scoring and ranked 10th in total offense.
Okay.
So he's got a few good things in his background.
Okay, that's cool.
Speaking of young guys, Bruce Arians went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Not even
Bruce
a young
is like
guy.
66 years old now.
Yeah.
You know,
with the Kango,
the coolest coach in the league again, no doubt about it. I don't know if he's the coolest anymore because some of these young guys might have
they pretty suave.
But I think he brings so much experience and so much respect that I believe the Buccaneers should improve under him.
Yeah, if you get a chance to watch on the NFL Network his football life. It's good.
Oh yeah.
He's been through a lot of stuff.
Fired.
Been through a lot.
He got fired.
Everywhere he went. Yeah.
Everywhere he went.
He didn't get fired from Temple. He left Temple, didn't he? He coached at Temple.
I think he got fired from there too.
Holy smokes.
Steelers.
Yeah.
It was like
God bless his wife.
As many times as you saw the Rams have to punt, that's how many times he got fired.
That's how many times he got fired. God bless his wife, man. She just was like, I'm packing.
Look.
He called her up to tell her he's fired. She's like, I'm already packing. I'm ready to go when you get home.
Whenever you know,
reservations are booked.
Don't worry about it. No big deal. You know.
That's love, bro.
Love. I hope they had those suitcases with the wheels on them. You know.
Yeah.
They really help. We got the 2-wheel. We gotta get the 4-wheel. Me and my wife, we talking about.
Yeah, so you can just stand it up straight and just
push it. Yeah, we ain't gotta. That's kind of
that has its problems too. There's no perfect suitcase. Yeah. Because if you hit a crack, the whole joint tips.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
You got one, eh?
Yeah. I almost would rather pull it on the 2 wheels than try to control it on the 4. Yeah, because there's little wobbly wheels and they like the bad shopping cart in the supermarket. Yeah. I don't know.
The bad shopping cart, man. Don't even mention that. Because I tend to find them.
They find you. They find you.
You're walking through, trying to be cool in the supermarket. It's like, whoa, and it's like, oh, God, it's hard to be cool with that.
Brian Flores
going to the Miami Dolphins. He pretty much called that defensive game against the Rams.
Quite a game he called, too.
He pretty much called that game, man. And we were just talking about all the gamesmanship that went into it, from the knowing what's going on with the helmet and the 15 seconds.
Yeah.
You know, the keeping them off guard, you know, blitz just a little bit. Mainly sent 4, but you just never knew what 4 he was sending and where they were coming from. And then he went, every once in a while, he'd have a 5th guy coming. You know what I mean? And then, you know, the thing that was interesting, and they talked about it, how they go no safety, right?
Right.
And then when the quarterback rolls out, they'll abandon wherever they are and just zoom in at the quarterback. And it worked.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So you can't get out there rolling out and think that you're going to have some time, because they'll make that adjustment and come at you.
Yep.
You know? It's absolutely amazing. So that was again, a game that people weren't necessarily happy with because they've been so used to high-scoring games. We liked it because we like defense. We like strategy. We like the whole chess match of it.
And there was plenty of that if you really watched the game.
Yeah. If you really watched the game. We talked about NFL. What's the show that we were talking about?
Inside the NFL.
Inside the NFL. And they were saying, I heard them say that basically those guys all enjoyed the game.
Right.
They all enjoyed the game. And you mentioned some of the defense that's on that show.
Well, I mentioned that Ray Lewis is on the show and he would beat them up if they didn't. Because they're all quarterbacks.
They're all quarterbacks.
Boomer and Phil Simms are quarterbacks. And what's his name is on there sometimes? Steve Smith comes on, but he's a wide receiver. So, you know, Ray's up there holding down for the defense all by himself. But he's been telling them week after week after week, while the Rams and the Chiefs and some of these other offenses have been exploding over and over. And everybody's like, oh, this is the new NFL. This is the way it is now. This is the way it's going to be. Ray kept saying, okay, wait till the end of the season. Wait till the postseason. You'll see things start to tighten up. Sure enough.
That's what happened.
Couldn't get no tighter than that Super Bowl.
Tight. Well, like you said, there's no more football. They played the Pro Bowl before the Super Bowl. Nobody watched it. Everybody hated it. I didn't like it.
Yeah, if you want to complain about a football game, that's
the one to complain about. And we talked about it, and I'm just bringing it back up real quick, the Pro Bowl conundrum and my solution. The conundrum is the major risk injury versus the contracts that these guys have.
Yes.
So a lot of them just beg off. They don't even play. Then you have second and third guys that come in and play, and, and they're just playing around. They're not really tackling. They're not hitting. They're not doing the things that make football,
exactly,
gladiator sport that it is. When I looked at the average salary at $1.9 million a year, and at the average Pro Bowler, the winners was making $64,000. So I should say winner there, and then the losers got half of that, I believe. So if you're making $1.5 million and you can make $64,000, then you want to go and play. But those all pros, those Pro Bowlers, those guys that are at the top
selected
of the game,
for that game,
they're at the higher end. So $64,000 means nothing if you're making $15 million. You're not going to risk $15 million to make $64,000, even if they aren't tackling.
Yeah, most of their game checks are bigger than $64,000.
Yeah, they might make 64 and a quarter.
Yeah,
just joking, but and so I had this idea, and my question was, is my idea too expensive? As you can see, I want to put up a winning pot of $100 million, where you got the Pro Bowlers and the All Pros going against each other in some form or fashion, with insurance making up the difference in what you would have to pay them if they were injured. So if you got a $15 million contract, you'd have, you might want to have insurance on that. That would be paid for by the owners, but the owners' total net worth is plus $70 billion. So if your net worth is plus $70 billion, $100 million is not a big deal. These guys give that away to charity.
That's true. To me, the question would be, do we want to spend that kind of money on this game? I don't know that they take this game that seriously.
Well, they wouldn't. They don't at this point. But if you could fill up a 60,000 to 80,000 person stadium, because you have the best players across the board, guys with all-star
they do have the best players
across the board. Well, number one, they're not really playing football. And number two, a lot of the best players aren't playing because they begged off.
But most of them won't play anyway.
Well, again,
if they don't want to play in this pity-pat game, they don't want to play in a real game. The money might make a difference for some. But again, we're talking about a game that doesn't really count for anything. You know what popped in my head? Baseball did something interesting. They made the All-Star game count. Whoever wins the All-Star game gets home field advantage in the World Series. That means something.
How does, relative to the conference? Well,
the National League.
I'm not a baseball guy.
The National League plays the American League.
Okay.
And if the National League wins, whoever the National League's representative is in the World Series gets home field.
Hey, it's another thought.
It's you when you look at your team in the locker room, somebody in this locker room is going to the World Series. Somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna play hard, try to win this game. Because it might be you, it might be us.
I didn't know that.
Now if you play for the Phillies, you're like, won't be me. But at that point, you can't let your boys down.
Right. And that's what you were having a problem with the last time we talked.
There's no tangible.
That team thing. But that might add another little piece to it.
Right. So you got to throw. That's what I'm saying. You have to throw something else in there to make them want it.
Well, I still think that if it's money, you know,
Oh, yeah.
100 million is a lot of money to split up between 88 people.
Yeah, but
You
some
know.
guys still might
That's
say
okay.
That's a lot of
That's
money,
okay, but I don't think it's going to be the majority.
it'll lure. If you got arbitrary number 20 dudes that belong for sure in this game, and you throw that kind of money out, you might get 8 of them. You might get 10 of them, but you're not going to get all 20 because some of them really are hurt. And they're like, I want the money, but I need to sit my behind down. The season is over.
Yeah, a lot of guys at this point in the season.
You got guys that wait
injured.
on getting surgery in the offseason, minor surgeries and things.
Was it? Oh, who was it that broke his arm in the Super Bowl?
Oh, yeah, Patrick Chung.
Patrick Chung. So they were talking about Patrick Chung. They said he's getting ready to have surgery on his arm.
Yes.
And then after he has surgery on his arm, he's going to have surgery on his shoulder because he's been playing with that.
He's been playing with that. That's right.
No.
That's right.
That's a hell of
So these guys, they
season.
can't wait for the season to be over so they can get stuff done, because if you get it done as soon as you're done playing, you have a better chance of making it
to the
camp.
next season. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I understand that. No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
You know what I think we should do for the Pro Bowl? Pick the players the same way. The only thing about this is it kind of takes the lineman out of it. But play a flag football game. Play a flag. If you take the quarterbacks, the running backs, and the receivers, and you put out, don't have to be that much money, but significant money, that might make for a real hard-fought game because they'll play harder because they're not getting tackled.
Well, not
it's
if they
all skill.
Not if they play the rules that the flag guys play.
Yeah,
they can't
those
even
rules
block.
those rules are wacky. Those rules are wacky.
When the guy catches the ball, everybody stops so he can.
No, but
right
they can make the rules easier to follow. They can take all that technical stuff out and make it just like a 7-on-7 practice.
Well,
except you got to actually pull the flag off the guy.
Something's got to be done. There is a conundrum that needs to be dealt with. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as we move along. Let us mention Ben and Barry on football, and to ask you to subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so that you will know what's going on. And we will just share with you our information. You can always find us at www.benandbarryonfootball.com, on Twitter at BNBonFootball, and on Facebook at BNBOF. And we would like to, again, share our social media with you. So let's start at the Facebook page for Ben and Barry on football, and let you know that this would be a great place to come. Multiple Patriots not interested in going to the White House. Which is interesting because their owner is a big Trump fan.
Well, they're friends and contributors, but supposedly so is Tom Brady. Yeah, he had a MAGA hat in his locker at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I think he
got rid of it.
I think he moved that. The Sterling Net Point Power Rankings, where you can find all of my posts and my information on the Net Point Rankings. I do a blog. Here's the blog that I did on the game. And here is the graph that we talked about, where you can see the big disparity between the scoring, the net point scoring for the Rams between the weaker teams, my Niners and the Cardinals, and the other more competitive teams. This looks like more of the Patriot type game than anything else. And Twitter, can't forget Twitter, Ben and Barry on football. We like to share as much information as we can about the great things that the players and the league are doing. There's so many questions about the NFL and their social commitments, things of that nature. but there's so much going on that people just really don't know. The players, the league, the money that they're donating to different places in different cities, and how they go out in the community and they do good work. So you can always go there. And then again, we always like to mention that I believe we follow a lot of, we don't have a lot of followers yet because this is our first year, but I believe that if you really want to kind of get into what's going on and connect with people and even tweet out to people. I mean, you can go on Twitter and tweet out to Jerry Rice, Jerry, you are the man. No doubt about it. You are the man. So, Tyrann Matthews, you can follow a lot of people just by checking in with us and looking at the list of who we're following. If you go to our website, www.Ben&Barry on football, it will take you to our YouTube page. And there was one thing I did want to mention before we go to the next thing what we were talking about. And that is today is, I'm going to screw this up a little bit, but it's National Girls and Women in Sports Day.
Really?
Yeah. It was on the news today.
They just make that up this morning?
No, I think they've had that for a while.
Okay.
And this is what was so funny. Last week, when we had the game, I had a shirt that I had made for my son Christopher. Yeah. When he broke the Roxborough all-time rushing record. Right. And so my daughter saw the shirt. Okay. And she's like, well, "Where's my shirt?" Like, because she's an honor student. She was this, she was that. So, I had to put out a little something, on Twitter for her, because she is.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, she is. Let me put it out there so people can see it. And my daughter, Tara, this is a Junior Olympic gold medal. So she is a Junior Olympic gold medal winner. Yeah, they don't make it out of gold. They don't even make the
Looks
real
good.
Olympic.
It's heavy.
Thing. Yeah, it's got a little weight to it. And she won that in the long jump.
Oh, I didn't know she long jumped.
She long jumped, okay. Yeah. And for Oakland Youth Association, her and Christopher down in Orlando, where the Braves practiced at that time. I don't know if they still, do their spring practice there or not. But it was really, and it's a funny story because her girlfriend was actually favored to win overall. Okay. And so we get down there. And, before the meeting, and they're telling everybody, okay, work on your steps, get those steps right. And a lot of the girls just weren't serious. They were kind of messing around.
Yeah, I'm just going to run down here and just do it, whatever.
You know what I mean? And, to get ready, before their actual event. But Tara took it seriously. She was actually, going through her steps and and then turned around and won the event, right? Hey. The funny part was her girlfriend was slated to win the event. Right. And so Tara wins the event, and her girlfriend is crushed. Tara starts crying.
Because her girlfriend is hurt because she beat her.
Because she beat her.
What were they, like 10?
Somewhere in that.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds about right. Isn't that crazy, though?
Yeah.
But that goes to show that the talent gap probably wasn't as big as it may have seemed. Right. Now, if the other girl had taken it seriously and really marked off her steps properly, it's a good chance she would have won.
Well, she went on to have a nice college career.
And that's great. I'm glad to hear that.
Tara went on to not do any more
sports. Like, I'm not even really interested.
I'm not getting
but I got this, though. So, that's all right. That's a good story. I like it.
So, for all the women out there who are in sports and athletics, there's a lot that you can get out of it, learning to work with a team, becoming confident in yourself, learning how to compete.
There's a lot of ladies in the running now, if nothing else. I mean, not as a sport per se.
Oh, just being like out running.
But they're out there, and I'm talking about a person that you would consider a runner, not somebody that just goes, I'm going to go around the block a couple times. Okay. You know what I mean? Oh, they're runners. They're doing 5Ks. On a regular.
Oh yeah, when you look at the Broad Street Run now, a lot of ladies running now, and they've really taken the the whole thing about getting in shape and you know, that type of thing very seriously.
Yes.
So congratulations to all of them. And then before we finished out, we wanted to mention, let me see if I can do this correctly here. No, I did not do that correctly. Let's try this again. There we go. I believe that's it. That's what we wanted to see. You mentioned that there is a new league.
Oh, no. More football.
More football.
On Saturday night, too.
Right. And this is sponsored by the NFL. NFL is a big part of this. You've got some teams, and especially in some cities, that don't necessarily have NFL franchises. But if you're really still looking for football, there is football to be had. And again, you can follow them on Twitter. You know,
Now, this is professional football, right? These guys are getting paid.
I do believe they're getting paid.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to have to really look into this and see. I did notice that there were a few names I recognized. There were some ex-NFL players who didn't necessarily retire, but are kind of just moving over to this because they couldn't crack starting lineups.
Okay.
But they can play.
Okay.
You know, there's lots of guys. There's on a 53-man roster, you watch a game, you're not going to see 53 guys play.
Right.
So there's some guys who actually made an NFL team, but are just probably looking for an opportunity to really start and make an impact on a team that they can't make on the team that maybe drafted them or brought them in as a free agent. So this would be for them.
And that might open up a door.
Might open up a door.
You never know.
With another team where they get a better chance to be a starting player and make more money.
We're getting to the NFL, right? That's
Well,
what we're talking about?
Well, yeah. For the regular guys in this league that have never played NFL football, maybe they come out of college and they go here because they didn't get drafted.
Mm-hmm.
That could open up a door for them.
Right.
But I'm talking about guys that have made NFL teams but weren't getting a lot of run and have dropped down. I hate to say drop down, but have gone to this league instead.
Okay.
Because let's face it, if you got normal run, first or second string run on an NFL team, you're not going to, let's say your team didn't make the playoffs. So you've been off, what, a month now? And then you're going to turn right back around and play a slate of games? That's rough. That's rough. So you're not going to see, like, Travis Kelce's not playing.
Well, I think if you're under any type of NFL contract, you're probably not going to be able to play in that because they probably won't allow it. You know,
that's a thought.
My question is,
so maybe the guys that have been on NFL teams that are now playing in this league have been cut, or
they don't have a contract.
They don't have a contract for whatever reason.
So the question is, with this league, the level of play.
That's what I care about the most.
At least match the CFL.
Well, that's what Canadian I care about the most. I want to see some good action. Yeah. I want to see the skill positions really be skillful. That's what I want to see. Yeah.
All right. All right.
Well, it's almost like the Pro Bowl. Show me something.
Show me something. Yeah. Show me, maybe it'll be better than the Pro Bowl.
Oh, it will be. I'm sure.
I'm sure. At least they'll be.
Yeah. These guys should be hungry.
Yeah. Yeah.
These guys should be hungry because I'm sure there's nobody playing in this league that wouldn't rather be playing in the NFL.
No doubt.
Okay.
No doubt about it.
There we go. So it should be good.
Before we sign off, we normally give each other the opportunity for some level of a rant. Do you have any rant this week?
I don't have a rant, but guess what? I am the champion of my fantasy football league, my main league. Yeah. We went all the way to the Super Bowl, and I did win. I mentioned last week that I was a little bit worried because my Super Bowl draft didn't go exactly as I planned, but the one thing that I really set my sights on going into it as a must-do was to get Julian Edelman, and it paid off. He was the main guy. He was the main.
Is he going to go into your Hall of Fame?
No. But if I get a chance to draft him onto my team in the regular draft next year, I will.
You'll take him.
Yeah, I'll take him. Because remember, he missed the first 4 games.
Yeah, that's right.
So I mean, in my mind, I'm looking at the people that were free to be drafted. I had Brady, he had Goff, but he also had C.J. Anderson and Sony Michel. I had Gurley. I had first pick. Now, the rule is whoever the most productive player is on one team at a certain position, then the other person automatically gets the most productive person of the opposite team, so that you can't hoard the two number one running backs in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, funny thing, you already had Sony Michel, but the most productive running back on the Patriots was actually James White, statistically. So, when I said I was keeping Gurley, I told him, well, the co-commissioner told him, that means you automatically get James White unless you don't want him. He did not have to take him. He was not forced to take him. But he's thinking, I got Michelle, I got CJ. I'm going to take him. I'm going to hoard up. Oh, but somebody got to play well.
Okay.
Because I had Gurley. So he took him, which made it easy for me to take Edelman. He had Woods and Cooks and Goff and Michelle. I know, sounds crazy, right? After the draft, I looked at it too. I'm like, how am I going to win this game? But I was more balanced. Balance. I had Gurley, who hardly did anything, but I had Burkhead, who did really well. What is he like? He's the third string guy.
Yeah, but Burkhead gets off. I mean,
right.
And that's the thing about the Patriots. They're hitting you from so many, none of those guys are all-stars. And let me just say this, and this is something that was in my mind. I'm going to say it, and you probably will not agree. My biggest question about Gurley, right, arose from me seeing him look and act more like a Hollywood star every day. I mean, from the sunglasses, it looked to me like he kind of went Hollywood a little bit, And I started to wonder, is this guy as focused as he needs to be? Or is he reading his own press? Is he,
He's got a couple of commercials.
And I just wondered about it. I mean, it probably is nothing. It probably had nothing to do with it. I'm probably completely wrong. But it did cross my mind, when some guys start reading their own press, they start, and they go Hollywood. And I just wondered if that happened, because it's such a mystery now. It's like, was he hurt? They're going, well, no, he's not injured. He's, he could have played, and everybody was hurt. So, this is the Super Bowl. You can go out there. If your arm is broken, you can play with it. Guys do it, they'll wrap it up. I mean, but he's on the sideline.
It was kind of strange because people saw him on the bike. So sometimes when you see a guy on the bike, you think, okay, he's having trouble loosening up, or he's trying to keep his knee from getting stiff. There must be something wrong. But he kept saying there was nothing wrong. As far as I knew, checking up on my fantasy information going into the game, he practiced in full the entire week before the game. A full practice means you take all your reps, all your first team reps, you run all your basic plays, you run them at full speed. They're not hitting, of course.
Right.
But you run them at full speed, you get out wide, you catch the ball. He did everything he was supposed to do.
Yeah.
He was not restricted.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, you got to give some credit to the Patriots defense. They wasn't giving them nothing on the ground, as evidenced by C.J. Anderson not doing a doggone thing either. If C.J. Anderson was breaking off runs, and then they put Gurley in, and he got 3 yards.
Gurley got one good
yards.
run, like 60
Yeah,
yards.
one good yard. It was early in the game. It might have been the first doggone play that they had.
I don't know if it was. No, but long story short, he had at least one good run.
So, and looking at that, I have to put some of the blame on the Rams coaching.
He's taking the blame.
As he should.
He's actually saying that he's proud of how Gurley is handling this whole thing.
Okay. Well, I believe him. I don't think he's covering up for Gurley at all. I think it's his fault. I think Maybe he got confused because C.J. Anderson had them couple real good games, and he wasn't sure how to. You can't be worrying about I'm trying to keep their numbers even and all that stuff. That's something you do in week 3 and 4. You know, if you're the Saints, you're like, okay, we know Kamara can do this and this, and we know Ingram can do this and this, and we can pretty much split their carries according to the flow of the game, blah, blah, blah. You don't do that in the Super Bowl. You the man. Get out there and be the man. When you tired, raise your hand up. CJ, go out there, bust a couple, and we come back with Gurley again, and you beat them over the head with that running game, right? He shied away from it. Shame on him. Mm-hmm. But the Hollywood thing, I'm not going to say that's not true. Oh, now I don't know how it affected him over this postseason because but he did start to get a little flaky there. That could be something
happened, and he just was okay. Anyway, I believe that's it for Ben and Barry on football for
I'm
this
done
particular
for today.
show.
What are we talking about next week?
We're talking about Hall of Fame next week. We're going to look at the Hall of Fame players. Maybe we'll look at the quarterback situation too. There's a lot of teams with quarterbacks going, that'll be choosing quarterbacks, like the Foles issue right now in Philadelphia. Foles tried to buy his contract. The Eagles.
Yeah, that's it. At this point, that seems to be a pretty clear-cut deal. They seem to have sat down and mapped this out. There's still 2 different scenarios, whether they put the tag on him or whether they just give him the contract and then he pays it back.
Because I think that's already been done. So now the question is, if they put the tag on him, they can control where he goes.
Okay, and that would be smart from an organization standpoint.
They don't want him to go to the Giants.
Right. They don't want him in. Well, they don't want him in the division at all.
Yeah.
And they seem to have their sights set on sending him down to DeFilippo. That he's the one that's down in Jacksonville, right?
Jacksonville.
So it's like, goofball Eagles trying to do people favors.
He could be on in Denver too.
Nick Foles, you're so nice. We'll send you wherever you want to go because you won a Super Bowl for us, and we really love you, and we hate to see you go. So we're going to be nice and send you wherever you want to get out of here. Only in Philadelphia, man. Only in Philadelphia.
Well, he's Saint Nick here in Philadelphia.
Yeah, he's going to come back and Saint Nick them somewhere that the football guys, they're fickle.
The interesting thing about Foles, before we wrap up, is that he's really never done much anywhere but Philly.
Exactly. He needs to go someplace special. He needs to go someplace where they're going to commit to the type of offense or similar offense to what Andy Reid and Doug Peterson run.
Where he can run RPOs up the yin-yang.
Right. That's where he needs to go. And if he doesn't, then you're going to have all the crazy people calling up the radio saying, I told you he wasn't nothing. I told you he was a bum. Because right now they're like, trade Wentz.
I'm like, you know what I said, I believe he's like the ultimate reliever.
Yeah.
And, some guys, and you tell me, because you're the baseball guy, some guys are not the starting pitcher.
Right.
But as a reliever,
right,
they're invaluable.
Right.
And
like you would want them to be a starter because they throw so hard, or as the baseball term is, their stuff is so good, but they can't sustain it. If you have a starting pitcher, you want him to at least pitch 6 innings. They can't seem to hold it together. They'll come out and blow people away for the first 3 innings, and then cats start hitting it over the wall. But if you make them a reliever and bring them in the 8th, now they can just let it go and then win a game for you. So yeah, if you just keep Nick Foles on your team until week 11 and then bring him in.
Well, that was my argument with the guys today, Eagle fans. I'm saying, because they're like, Wentz. I'm like, Wentz ain't made it through a season. Even when he made it through the season, he was still injured.
Right.
Right. He and his style is based on his athleticism.
Right.
You take that from him, and he hasn't shown the ability yet to.
The one thing that I got to give Wentz credit for that people seem to forget is the year they won the Super Bowl, who won the first 11 games?
Oh, he was
impressively.
Tremendous. He was tremendous. But
impressively,
again,
they were talking MVP.
His athleticism,
right? But I'm saying,
just was outstanding.
This is only what, his third or fourth year. That's still in him.
Yeah, but he's been injured now.
I understand that. I understand that.
You got stuff like that.
I understand that. But you can't turn your back on what you saw that first 11 games.
He might not be the same.
They were talking MVP.
I know.
He was smoking cats.
But remember what we also talked about. That strength of schedule. He was smoking a lot of teams.
Okay, we did talk about that. You're right. We did discuss that.
He was killing some of those. And,
well, we were saying how things kept falling into place with them. They were playing teams when their quarterbacks weren't starting. Oh, who you got next week? Oh, yeah, their quarterback is down. They're missing a couple of linemen. Yeah, everything was falling into place for the Eagles that year.
They were looking great.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to poo-poo their Super Bowl championship.
Stop you from using that word.
But I can't. Man, it just happens. But I mean, you won the Super Bowl. I can't take that away from you. But you had a lot of good karma riding on y'all that year, for real. And I think you used it all up too. So y'all really need to stop talking. Let this be my rant. Y'all really need to stop talking because you're back down to reality now. So now, when I say the Giants got 4, you can't say that's in the past because y'all got 1, and that's in the past too. So I'd rather have my past 4 than your past 1. See you in 50 years, hopefully.
No, it's every 60 years.
Oh, well, I won't
60 years since they got to the first one.
See it then, but still.
That's what I always mess with them. I like to mess with them. I always tell them, you got 1, my Niners have 5. If you keep up that average of every 60 years, it'll be 240 years for you to catch up with my Niners, assuming we don't even win another one.
Holy crap.
But that's just
like Brady will have 2 more by then.
Gosh. You think he'll play the 50?
He said he's going to play 45 for sure. Well, who knows? When he turns 45, he's 41 now, right? If they win another 1 or 2 before he turns 45 or that 45th year, he might stay. Why not?
Especially if they make the rules that much easier on quarterbacks. It's
you never know. They
flag, you breathed on them.
Yeah.
You brushed up against them. You can't do that.
It's crazy, man.
All right, Ben, it's been great.
Yeah, great season.
Great season. We're looking forward to talking about what's going to happen in the upcoming off season. Like we said, Hall of Fame, quarterbacks.
Yeah, keep looking for us. We'll be around. We're going to find stuff to talk about.
Oh,
so we'll be around.
Have a lot of that kind of stuff. Ben and Barry signing off.
Go Noles.